Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one. Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 13.62, The Blessings of Evil Intelligence. We are back.
This intelligence, it was rather evil of me.
Sorry.
Sorry, that was a terrible opener. I'm just going to read now, alright? Okay. The night was alive with fire. AWL Asset D6-713, Hidden Capital Underground Observation and Containment Facility. Hell, with one L. Hell is one of many AWL facilities located throughout the galaxy, ready to observe interesting phenomena and contain troublesome experiments whenever required. While the days of Renee the Raven, when our organization enjoyed the full favor of the Supreme, are long gone, the AWL still maintains a presence on Azum Ha. Hell is equipped with several layers of internal and external defense in order to withstand attacks born within and without. While the majority of these defenses are self-operating, it is advised that Hell be equipped with additional AWL assets while in active use. From the desk of Section Chief Mazara, deceased. The absurd weapons lab facility would not go down easy. At first it had appeared as one temple among many in the depths of Azum Ha, a squat little stone building that the eyes slid right over, but once they'd tried to gain access, the facility had shown them what it could really do. Like a flower it had unfurled, revealing a shape like a metal starfish, every inch of its exposed surface bristling with gun barrels. They'd fired without delay. As if that weren't enough, it had unleashed a swarm of automatic defenses from vents on the tip of each arm. They sliced and diced through the air, weaving through the bullets with such ease that they seemed like a single organism. All in all, to look at the construct reminded Xander Rain more than a little of the Shisha, but he supposed that made sense. The absurd weapons lab had been heavily involved in its construction. Wrong, it's buddy. Yeah, fix that. The construction of the great starship. There you go. They'd clearly brought across the design philosophy for their own buildings. There was more fire than air here right now, but the Tree of Might did not burn so easily. Xander flew through the air, carrying several of his comrades with him. Brown aether charged the air around him, and each and every projectile that came for his group changed their course to avoid them. His eyes flicked around the squat stone building as he tried to find a weakness, tried to find a way in. All around him, the rest of the Tree of Might fought. They weren't so weak that mundane defenses would shoo them away. They danced against the horde of machines, aether abilities erupting into light and taking dozens of automatics with them. A few members had already activated their absolutions, and for a moment Xander felt the urge to join them, but no. His absolution could certainly break into this place with ease, but the berserker rage the strength induced would make him just as much a threat to his allies than his enemies. He couldn't afford to fail Lord Hadrian again, not after his disastrous display the other night. The mind of a warrior was needed right now, not his arm. Letting his halberd float in the air next to him, Xander turned to his companions. "Lord Onio," he said respectfully. "Lord Masterman, I feel we must work together on this." Tyr Masterman nodded, but Xander suspected there was a tinge of resentment to it. As agreed, Lord Hadrian had named Pheno Onio as the new second branch of the Tree of Might, following the battle in the temple. Even if Muzazi was no longer a concern and the battle had been interrupted, Onio had performed his part well. The quality of Onio's service had outweighed Masterman's seniority, it seemed. Still, they were all branches of the same tree, and they would work together as one. Xander floated the trio higher up until they were nearly at the top of this cavern of ruins, looking down at the center of the metal complex. "Second branch!" Xander commanded. Pheno held his hand out, and the blood he'd accumulated over the battle rushed to him, a crimson tsunami that quickly swirled into a spinning crystalline drill. The tip of the monstrous implement was pointed straight down, straight towards the roof of the besieged fortress. Masterman held out a hand, crackling with yellow aether, mustachios quivering in anticipation. What should his voice be?
He's an old man, but he's sort of like dignified a little bit.
"Double time," he intoned, and the spinning of the drill increased until it was visible as no more than a vague red blur, a bloody quill with which to rewrite the world. Masterman's ability to control speed paired nicely with such a thing. Xander's turn. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, and grasped the flow of all things. Dust and fire, blood and sweat, all of it found a new path, drawn in to join the drill high above, adding to its mass until it was truly gargantuan, truly grotesque, truly... Xander smirked. Absurd. The siege engine they'd created crackled with all three of their aethers. Multi-infusion wasn't a technique that was practiced often, as aether was generally considered an individual practice. Common wisdom held that only one aether user could infuse an object at a time, but if each party only infused part of an object, leaving space for their comrades' power to flow, the boost it provided was greater than the sum of its parts. So it's not equal to the sum, actually. Interesting. Air rushed.
Yeah,
Well, like I would assume it's like if they each are, say, in reinforcing a third, it's 3 times more reinforcement because it's more concentrated. But you said it's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, it's more efficient.
So it implies that like the fact that you're mixing Aether makes it stronger than just what's being added.
Well, they're not actually making contact. It's just like you are it takes a lot of skill because you're selectively like boosting different parts of the structure.
Yeah. Air rushed, blood boiled. Because this is something I talked about with you a long time ago. I don't know if you remember about like team attacks and stuff.
Yeah.
Things like that. Air rushed, blood boiled, Aether screamed. The thing they had created was nearly beyond their ability to control. Xander's face was moist with sweat as he forced the drill into obedience, keeping it aimed at the complex rather than raging wild. The automatic defenses now rushed to them, realizing that they constituted the greatest threat to the security of their fortress, but the Tree of Might did not allow its branches to be severed so easily. The rank and file formed a barrier between the 3 branches and the machines, fighting with everything they had to give Xander the time he needed. Time enough. Xander dropped the Hammer of God, and the sound it produced when it struck the facility was nearly beyond sound itself. If not for Aether, it surely would have burst every eardrum in attendance. A forest of sparks flew from the point of collision as the tip of the drill and the metal of the roof faced one another, each unwilling to surrender. An unstoppable force and an immovable object. Or a nearly immovable one. Metal gave way, and soon enough so did the artificial apex wood beneath it. Esoteric materials of every variety torn clean through one after another, toxic gases flowing forth from the chemical reactions. Shrapnel swerved to dodge Xander as it flew towards him and his clan. Still, as the roof finally exploded inwards, Xander knew they'd have more to worry about than shrapnel, and he was quickly proven right. Lights danced in the darkness. AWL Asset T-1229. Necroslave Defensive and Assault Auto Soldiers. Turbo Men. There is no shortage of condemned criminals in the Supremacy. They are an abundant resource. All know this to be true. Yet we allow this abundant resource to be thrown away in no shortage of wasteful ways. Burial and cremation and such. Why must this be? We know corpses can be made use of. I assume use.
Oh, yeah.
So why not make use of them? These beheaded carcasses shall be fitted with basic autobrains, linked together into a combat network set against deteriorated targets. While they bear a somewhat comical appearance, they shall fight with utmost ferocity. What's the point, honestly, of having a body? Why not just make a full robot? Wouldn't it be stronger? Tell me.
They're mad scientists, my guy.
While they bear a somewhat comical... there will be no issue to acquire the necessary resources from the prisons of the Supremacy. Do these autobrains have the ability to use Aether?
No, they're all brains.
And for those who claim this is an exercise in novelty rather than pragmatism, I must point out this one truth. It is much cheaper to create a corpse than an automatic. From the desk of Section Chief Moan. Dismissed.
Sorry, that should be more.
So,
sorry.
Morn?
Yeah.
Oh wait, that's you, Jester?
Yeah, that's Jester.
That was his innovation!
It was one of the things he did.
I learned discovery is the greatest of all. What was his speech about?
Well, he was curious to see if he could do it.
So, for those who don't know, Jester Morn was Tan's roleplay character he played about 2 times ever. It was really cool, though. You should do more stuff with him. The dead flooded forth. For a moment, Xander's face was locked in horror. Countless corpses, some naked, some clad in jumpsuits, were crawling out from the hole in the roof. Xander had seen his share of dead bodies in battle, and reanimation abilities were nothing new either. But the state of those bodies! Each and every writhing body was missing their head, and from their neck stumps blinked instead the tiny blinking light bulbs of autobrains. These bodies had been reanimated not with an Aether ability, but by invasive technology. It was strange. Why did that feel so much more obscene to Xander? "Stink," muttered Masterman. The dead bodies clashed with the members of the Tree of Might below, cadavers desperately climbing over each other in great hills to reach their enemies first, like insects, blade in fist met with feral fingernails, but Xander found himself surprised. He'd have expected corpses like these to be splattered by the first attack of an Aether user, but they were holding up surprisingly well. Could it be? Xander narrowed his eyes, infusing his vision to peer at the enemies below more carefully. Yes, it was. Around each and every one of the corpses sparked dull grey Aether, defending their bodies and bolstering their blows. Had he been mistaken, then? Was this resurrection the work of an Aether ability after all? He looked to Masterman, giving him a curt nod. "Investigate." Tyr Masterman was nothing if not dutiful. The third branch bowed respectfully, one hand clasped against his heart, and when he rose again he spoke one word in response. "Absolution!" Masterman's absolution wasn't quite as showy as others in the Tree of Might. A wooden domino mask emerged around his eyes, and a short cape of autumn leaves billowed from his back. What was more impressive was what he could do with it. All it is generic power in exchange for losing abilities, right?
Physical boost, yeah.
Interesting. Still, in the grasp of Xander's ability, Masterman stepped forward onto air and vanished. This absolution, Maple... Oh, I wish Maple still read Aether. Was specialized in speed. Even with his vision infused, Xander could only track Masterman's movement by the suddenly eviscerated zombies that flew up into the air. Footprints planted themselves into entrails, squeezing them dry as the third branch vanished into the complex. He was back a moment later at Xander's side. His absolution flaked away into teal aether as he sipped his thermos of coffee. Xander glanced at him. Well? Masterman seemed unimpressed. Some kind of aether armament, I think, injecting the corpses with infusion as they leave the base. A most grotesque thing. I'm imagining him as, Alfred. Batman.
Yeah.
AWL Asset C3910. Ambulatory commissioned armament for aether storage, amplification, and injection. Spider Leg. Through the earnest efforts of yours truly, a contract has been signed with the prestigious Maker Guild for the mass production of these astounding armaments. The Spider Leg needs only to be infused by an Aether user. It will then store that Aether, preserve it over long periods of time, and efficiently pass that infusion onto a designated target. With proper utilization, we will be able to elevate entire mundane armies to the physical levels of low-tier Aether users. A revolution in warfare! A commendation of genius! Ah, how wonderful! How wonderful the apotheosis of sciences! From the desk of Section Chief Hark, deceased. Why are they all dead or gone?
The mad scientists, they die in experiments.
That's awesome. Is Hark someone we knew? That name sounds
He was the little
familiar.
guy from the Elysian Fields incident. He was the section chief 2 years ago.
When did he die?
Over the 2-year time skip.
I thought he was the guy that was working with what the Darkstar now. I guess it
No.
was a different scientist.
That's Pandershi. He's in the UAP. He's not involved with the Absurd Weapons Lab.
Ah, what a shame. Rip Hark. How did he die?
He blew himself up.
That's awesome. Do they all blow themselves up?
It's usually some experiment backfiring.
Do you want to take over for a bit?
Sure. I destroyed some on my way back out, continued Masterman, but there were quite a few of the things. Even with my speed, I fear I might have been overwhelmed if I were to rush in all by myself. Not to mention, we don't know what other defences await us. Fino narrowed his eyes. Are you frightened, old man? A lesser man, or perhaps a more proud one, would have risen to that bait, but Masterman simply adjusted his tie in the expression of dignity. It is a fool who does not fear the fog of war, he said calmly. I must simply stand back and admire your own bravery, Second Branch. For some reason, Fino narrowed his eyes further at that. What did you say? He growled. Xander raised a hand, eyes fixed on the dark hole below. No arguments in my presence. These are foot soldiers. We'll overcome them with time anyway. We'll simply exercise patience and call their numbers slowly. Fino looked back, past Xander, a smirk playing across his lips. Don't know if we'll even have to do that, First Branch. Take a look. Frowning, Xander followed his gaze and widened his eyes. Oh, we're so back.
You wrote it.
The sound of
Jesus, the fucking ego of a beast.
Me writing a chapter, I'm like, oh, I go in Discord, go send a message to myself with the black beard writing gif. The sound of whistling filled the cavern. There, as casually as could be, filled the cavern from the entrance. There, as casually as could be, North walked into the battlefield. His hands were plunged carelessly into his pockets, and there was a jovial spring to his step as he moved through the bodies of their fallen comrades. Xander's brow creased in irritation. Why did Lord Hadrian allow such a disgraceful man to act as his hand? The answer soon made itself obvious. Nightmare Underground, North said casually, cracking his neck. Error grotesquerie. Space flickered, and all over the chamber, floating spears of glowing molten flesh appeared. They warped and undulated, sometimes seeming to shift sides for just an instant before snapping back. But more than that, they were wrong. Just looking at them seemed to burn sunspot darts into Xander's eyelids like a kiss from lips of acid. He quickly looked away. The automatic corpses seemed to fare even worse against the display. As one, they ceased their attack, limbs jerking as their bodies malfunctioned. Some of the bulbs shattered and sparked as their hosts collapsed to the floor right then and there. Those that remained standing were quickly cut down by the troops of the Tree of Might. North grinned as he looked up at Xander. Our medics really can't stand that one. Lord Hadrian thought you guys might want a helping hand. What a nice guy, right? Xander scowled. Please tell Lord Hadrian we don't require such assistance. North's grin slackened into a smug smile. I'll tell him yourself. Tap, tap, tap. The shadow of Dragon Hadrian, projected by the lights North had created, fell upon the cavern. Each and every automatic, each and every soldier, each and every corpse, they were all painted dark by it. Even suspended in the air, Xander bowed, matching the reverence of the branches on either side of him. Lord Hadrian, clad in his white suit, looked analytically at the debris before him. His eyes, too, were fixed on the entrance they created on the complex roof. Now, though, something other than the corpses lurked in those depths. Xander couldn't see exactly where it was from this angle, but upon his skin, he could feel the gaze of something not human. Popcorn. Just for this last bit.
Oh, okay. AWL, Asset A12656. By existential, semi-independent, pseudo-physical aether entities. Assailant and Slayer. The future of our organization lies in the vivisection of aether. Aether is a force external to humanity, but by itself it is undefined. It is the role of humans to poison the well with their thoughts and feelings, with their hopes and dreams. Only once Aether believes itself to be the user does it become an asset to humanity. Only once Aether continues to crawl after death does it become of interest to us. Assailant and Slayer are notable in novelty alone. Two separate awakening entities produced following the death of a single user. Special Officer Lal Kars was killed in the Elysian Fields incident, and the twins appeared afterwards, splitting his carcass between them. These beasts may not have the utility of the so-called Black Blur Interloper, or the raw strength of the humanoid weapon Awbrisher. No! That's so sad! Oh, that's so sad! What did they do to her? Fix it! Unwrite it. Edit. It's not too late. This isn't out yet. Edit it! But there is still a strength that can be brought to heal. No matter their quality, teeth will find throats and blood shall flow. Until the day humanity vanishes, blood shall flow. That's the opposite of peace and joy. From the desk of Section Chief Blackmane. Do we know Blackmane?
That's a new name.
Is this the current head?
It would be, yeah.
Two horrors lurched out of the building. The first walked upright, but none could have confused it for a human. A bleached white skeleton, a fog... I like that you're going more monstrous with the awakenings. It's very fun. A bleached white skeleton, a fog of liquid dove is flying around it and serving as its flesh. It's Ooh, wrong it's, buddy.
It's an awakening, he can't comprehend it.
Its jaw snapped open, and deep within blinked a single engorged eyeball. The second crawled, a black-feathered spider, a cloak of dangling nerves trailing on the ground after it. Impressions of faces pushed out of its bloated midsection, weeping and giggling and moaning, with a forest of tongues tasting the air in all directions. In place of a head, it had a single floating arm, the fingers of which twitched this way and that as if they were eyes. As one, they inspected their gathered opponents. A shudder went down Xander's spine, but Lord Hadrian just smiled, standing before the monsters. Wait, Lord Hadrian's there?
Yeah.
Since when?
He walked in. He had a big aura walk.
Ah, I see. You're right. A shudder went down Xander's spine. Fantastic, the Zero Branch said, pulling back a fist. This is a perfect opportunity. Let's see how Aether Awakenings die. He's already seen this.
Yeah, but now he can, experiment.
Oh my god, he's just as bad as the AWL.
He's like, I better figure out how awakenings work or I'm finished.
He saw what happened to good old, what's it called? The Muzazi.
He got ragdolled across the arena.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Alright, you ready for some
He
Aetheral
grabbed
questions?
him with a physics gun.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Time for Time has a couple ones. Is Dorothy Iroh able to perform all the same feats Allward can without using the technique, or does Allward handle the interpretation/execution of Iroh's commands independently? For example, thinking about a command like Metal, Melt, and Drown Toy Muzazi, could Iroh herself infuse metal, heat it up to the point of melting, then direct it towards Muzazi without using the technique?
She could not, no.
Interesting.
It's like,
if I was...
think of it as like an engine that makes the command work.
Gotcha. Quaker Buttonnose asks, are there Aether armaments that need a certain level of Aether using skill to use, like how Dorothy can only use Allward as well as she does because of how good she is? My understanding was Aether armaments only ever require like a speck of Aether.
For activation, Aether usage is a requirement, but you can still like use one that a skill-based armament that does something you need skill to like use properly is
right.
Of course would exist. But
right, but like
you
don't
trying.
need. You never need power, right? Because like the initial description is you just send
need, like,
a tiny
bit
bit
of
of
Aether.
Aether. Gotcha. Teeth asks, realize we never got any follow-up on where Skipper got his jacket. It's insinuated early text that it meant a lot to him through the wear and tear. Did he buy it or was it a gift?
It was a gift.
From who?
From Vanta Blackswood, when he was with them.
Oh. Did the widow buy it?
Yeah.
Quaker Buttonnose says, if Serendipity has the highest population of any inhabited planet, which has the lowest? There's probably a planet with like one guy.
Yeah, there's let's say outposts 476.
It's
there was
home to the hermit.
The Gene Tyrant sent out a guy there to man it, and they didn't want to bother sending another one, so they made him immortal.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that
but
he
like so far out, he
reproduced.
doesn't even know about like the parts and revolutions or anything. He's just still sat there doing like.
I thought you were going to say he like asexually reproduces.
No.
So when he dies, he just mitoses.
No, he's still there. He doesn't know that about anything that's happened.
So there is an immortal person that's possible to make genetically.
Well, he's very long lived.
How cooked is he mentally right
now? He's pretty hollow.
Can we see this character at some point?
No, he's so far out. It's like the reason they like sent an immortal guy is because they could not be bothered to like set up the infrastructure required to routinely transport someone out there. He's like on the edge of the galaxy, just in case like aliens show up.
What was his role? What is he still doing that he thinks that Gene Tyrants are back home? If he has no contact with them.
Well, basically, he sits there, and if like aliens show up on the edge of the galaxy, he presses a button.
Which has
to
never
let everyone
happened in
know.
his 1,000 years.
No.
Yet he missed Pan. What a failure.
Yeah, Pan was already there, though. She didn't come from outside the galaxy.
Rurum asks, did Gale model his hero light after the Lantern of Azaz?
No. It's just a complete different thing. It works completely differently. There's no resemblance. It's not like an offensive ability in any way.
Alright. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening, and we will see you next time, I believe.
Bye!